Welcome back everyone to another Baldur's Gate 3 build video. I am Senpai Zaya. Thank you so much for being here today. All right, so in this build video, I'm super excited because of the fact that we get to revisit one of my most popular videos of all time, but we're going to make the build a lot better, and that is going to be the Bladesinger. Right, and one more attack should do it. Boom, there we go. Another mission cleared. Hey everyone, so I've been diving into this game and it's packed full of a ton of content, so I really wanted to talk about it, and the game is Raid Shadow Legends. I'm having so much fun playing this game. It is a ton of fun. As you can see, I am just mopping the floor with enemies right now. So let's talk more about it. Dive into this free-to-play fantasy RPG adventure with a captivating storyline and online PvP. Raid is currently giving away a ton of free rewards, and you can get in on the action right now. Raid Shadow Legends is available on PC, Android, and iOS. You can click the link in the description or scan my QR code to download the game and get some amazing champions for free today. Now remember, you must click my link in the description to receive Lightsworn, an epic champion from the Sacred Order. Lightsworn will keep your team alive with his increased defense and revive on death skills. And once you reach level 15, you'll also get Juliana, an epic champion and straight up boss killer from the Sacred Order. But wait, there's more. Raid is offering an additional champion to new players, providing a significant advantage at the start of the game. Simply use one of these promo codes within the initial 72 hours of registration. You can get a massive head start with the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, a free legendary attack champion. He can dish out some massive damage, put your opponents to sleep, and even revive after death with his unbeatable Wukong ability. This guy can hard carry your team as a main DPS, and you can pick him up for free by using promo code Monkey King. Make sure to use this promo code within the initial 72 hours of registration. And for returning players, you can use the code I love free stuff to receive the free rare champion Preserver as well as useful in-game loot. To activate promo codes, navigate to the left side of the screen and select the promo codes option. Enter your promo code in the provide field and click confirm. You'll receive confirmation upon successful entry, and you can collect your rewards from your inbox. I have never seen Raid give out so many powerful champions for free in a single promo. So now is the perfect time to start playing the game. Click my link in the description or scan the QR code right now and start playing today. And before you go, a quick reminder, don't let this opportunity slip away. Download Raid Shadow Legends using the links or QR code in the description below and unleash your legendary destiny. Join the adventure today and become a legend in Raid Shadow Legends. All right, so hopping right into character creation, the first thing you're going to do, of course, is pick your origin. You can either go custom origin or the Dark Urge. Either one works just fine for you. And then your race, you are going to pick Tiefling is my first option, and the main reason why is because Zariel Tiefling specifically does get access to a couple different smites and some like race spells that they can use once per long rest. So that's like another option for you to have, because in this build normally we won't get smites like naturally besides like magical secrets or whatever. But for this specifically, I wanted to give that option. And at first I was going to do like just like a paladin and then like swords bard, but I've already done that build and I wanted this to be a little bit different. So I thought about splashing paladin, and you still can if you want to and take less levels of bard specifically, and that works just fine and it will still be really powerful. But there's so many like paladin bard builds out there, so I wanted to do something a little bit different and still be powerful, but we still can have access to smites thanks to Tiefling. If you don't want to take Tiefling, you can take any other race. It doesn't matter too much. You can even go like half orc would be another really good option for some crit fishing. And then class, you are going to start out with, and it's going to be weird, but you are actually going to start out with a cleric. So for this build, we are going to go 10 levels of bard, 1 level of cleric, and 1 level of wizard, and I will explain why in the later sections as we get to those levels. But you are going to start off as a cleric for this build, and the main reason why is because we get all of the weapon and armor proficiencies starting off as a cleric. Plus, it's the most powerful to pick this class up right now and then not have to worry about it later, especially because of the fact that we are going war domain clerics, so we're going to be able to use our bonus attack, our bonus action as a weapon attack, excuse me. So as early as, you know, level 1, we can make 2 attacks per turn. I think it's like 3 times with like a level 1 cleric. So not too bad for that. So you're going to start as a cleric, of course, and then your cantrips, since we are going to be a charisma based character, we're mainly going to have dexterity, but you're also going to be charisma. The ones I recommend you take is going to be guidance. You already get thaumaturgy if you are Zariel Tiefling, so that's really nice because that's very useful for a charisma based character. But if you're not Zariel Tiefling, make sure to take thaumaturgy. And then for the other ones, I like Produce Flame over Sacred Flame personally. And then the third one, you can take like Blade Ward or something. Really doesn't matter up to this point. Deity, you can pick whatever you want. Does not matter. Once again, just changes dialogue options. And then your background. For your background, you can pick the one that you're just picking some skills basically. So really pick the one that you want the skills in. Since you are a bard, you are going to have a lot of skill proficiencies. So just pick whatever one you feel like is the ones you're going to be using the most. I like Guild Artisan for the insight and persuasion personally, so that's the one I'm going to go with. And then abilities really quick, we're going to put our +2 in dexterity, bump that all the way up to 17 because we are going to get the Hag's Hair. So with 1 ASI, we can get that up to 20, which is super nice. And then if you want to wait until you get Wither so you can respec, then you can just change this charisma, swap the charisma and wisdom basically, so that way your cleric spells still like do something. And then once you get Withers at like level 2 or 3, you can just go respec and then change it to this right here. So that's why I recommend you actually do for that, especially because it's going to allow you to prepare more spells having a higher wisdom. So actually, let me do this really quick so that way I can show you better than what I'm doing right now. But see, now you have 4 prepared spells, right? So the prepared spells that I would recommend you take is going to be, first is going to be Guiding Bolt. Guiding Bolt is like your best cleric ranged option, especially for level 1 spell. It's just really strong. And then Inflict Wounds. Inflict Wounds is really good because we are going to be in melee combat a lot, and having a 3d10 necrotic damage attack is also going to be really nice, especially because of the fact that in the early game, we until we get like our swords bard subclass, our melee is going to be kind of like just like average, you know, like you're just going to be hitting with like a regular rapier or something. So that's nice to have when you need like that burst damage. And then I recommend taking Sanctuary because sometimes you don't want to use your bonus action to attack. Sometimes you need to protect yourself. So having Sanctuary in your back pocket is really nice. And then of course for the next one, I would take Command. I really do like Command. Now, I will say that these are going to change up a little bit once you respec, because when you respec, you're not going to have a high wisdom. And so you don't want to take things like Guiding Bolt and Inflict Wounds because of the fact that like you're not going to have a high enough wisdom to make use of those. So then instead what you would do is you would take ones that don't focus on like your spell DC and your spell casting modifier basically. So you could just go to like Create and Destroy Water and then either Bless, Bane, or Healing Word, and then those will work just fine for you because none of these are going to use that except for Command. So you could also take Command out, put like Bless in, for example, and like that would all be fine. But it's really up to you. I'm just giving you options because we are mixing 3 different spell casting modifier classes into this build specifically, but we are a charisma caster primarily. So this is what it's going to look like for you at level 1. All right, so hopping into level 2, I had to switch to my main character, and unfortunately I do not have a tiefling that is level 12, so I can't show you with a tiefling specifically, but a lot of this information is going to be the same. Basically, the only difference is you're going to get a smite at level 3, and then a smite, you're going to get I think it's like Thunderous Smite at level 3, and then Branding Smite at level 5 for Azariel Tiefling. So that's like the main thing that you're not going to see here, but all the rest of this should be the same. So going into it, now that you are level 2, you are going to pick up your level in Bard. And then for your cantrips, a lot of the cantrips like overlap, but the ones I'd recommend is taking Friends. I already have the spell on this character, but you can take Friends here, and that's going to be really good for you, and I absolutely recommend that. And then the other one that you want to take, you can take whatever. It doesn't matter too much. It's not really going to be useful, so just kind of use whatever you want and see if you can get any sort of use out of it. And then in terms of your spells, the ones that I like taking personally at this level is for ranged damage option. I like Dissonant Whispers. This one's going to be really strong. And then if you want to take like the ritual spells like Longstrider, Featherfall, and then Speak with Animals, you can do that. And then that's what I recommend, unless you're going to do the strategy of having someone in your camp that's going to cast all the ritual spells on your characters and then just send them off. So if you're going to do that, then you can take different options than these ritual spells, except for Speak with Animals, because you can only cast on yourself, so I still recommend you take that. And for the early game, I also recommend you take Sleep and then Thunder Wave if you're going to go with a different strategy. Instrument, doesn't matter, pick whichever one you want. And then abilities, you're going to get just like an ability that you can pick here. So once again, you can pick whichever one you want here, but I do recommend that you take one of the charisma-based ones, so the ones that you feel like you are going to use the most. Probably Deception or Persuasion are the two that I notice you're using the most, but you can also take Intimidation or Performance if you want to, and you will be just fine. Moving on to level 3, we are, of course, going to take another level in Bard. And for our spell here, you're going to get access to another level 1 spell, so you can pick up one of the spells that you didn't take before. You can take even like Disguise Self, and Disguise Self does have some good uses, for example. So like there's like certain weapons where it's like if you're a Githyanki, you get this bonus, or if you're a Drow, you get this bonus. So Disguise Self is nice because you can do that and get those. If you want to use those weapons, then you can have that bonus. So I recommend taking that one. And then if not, you can take something like Fairy Fire, and that would be like a good support option for you. And then of course you can replace a spell if you want to. Moving on to level 4, this is going to be a huge power spike for us because we are going to get our subclass. Of course, we are going College of Swords, because honestly, College of Swords in and of itself is like the closest thing we have to a Bladesinger, and it's basically like a Baldur's Gate 3 Bladesinger because of our blade flourishes. And the main one is going to be the defensive flourish. So defensive flourish is going to you're going to attack, and then you're going to add your armor class by 4. So that's going to be the main bladesinging aspect, because as we know, one of the main features of a bladesinger is having incredibly high AC. So this is going to help out a lot with that. And then you're going to get access to a level 2 spell. There are a couple different options here. Once again, I always do recommend that pay attention to the spells that require concentration, because you don't want to pick up too many of those, since you can only concentrate on one spell at a time. But there's a couple different good options. There's Invisibility, there's Knock. If you're not going to have a rogue in your party, then Knock is always pretty useful. And then there's like Phantasmal Force. There's a couple different good options here. Shatter. So if I had to pick one specifically for me, then the one that I'm going to go with is I'm either going to take like a ranged AoE damage option to have like that in my back pocket for when I'm not in melee combat, so like Shatter, or I'm going to take something with more utility like Invisibility or Hold Person. I think is a pretty good one to be able to concentrate on, especially because you can use this on like a boss enemy or like the strongest enemy that you are facing, and then you can just focus down on them with like your blade flourishes and stuff, and you'll do a ton of damage with like the guaranteed crits. So that's also really good. Just depends on what you want. And of course, if you are not playing solo, then a lot of the spells that you pick, especially utility and support based spells, are going to be a little bit more based on what your other party members are going to be casting and doing as well. So I'd say pay attention to your overall party composition and then make your choice based on that. Fighting style, you have a couple different options. You have dueling, and then you have 2-weapon fighting. Now, with this build specifically, because of the fact that in the most recent patch they did update it to where dual wielding crossbows does require you to have 2-weapon fighting to get that benefit on your secondary attack. This is the one that I'm going to recommend taking, because I do like dual wielding crossbows with this build. Now, you don't have to do that, and if you don't want to dual wield crossbows and you instead just want to use like a short bow or something, then I would say take dueling, and dueling is still useful with that additional 2 damage. But this is going to give you a lot of options for this build. We're not going to dual wield 2 different weapons. You can in this build, but I'm going to emphasize on using a shield instead, because of the fact that like we want to have as high AC as possible. So I know that like it looks weird and you're like, oh, I want to do dueling, but the benefit that you get for dual wielding 2 crossbows is, I think, better than just getting an additional 2 damage on your melee attacks. But if you do want to take this, it's not going to be bad for you at all. I just really like being able to dual wield 2 crossbows, especially with a swords bard and things like slashing flourish and stuff, because then you can just basically Gatling gun down enemies from range, and then when they get into melee range with you, then you can destroy them too. So I like that option, that versatility. And of course, before this patch, you would have always picked dueling because you didn't need this, but now you do need it in order to make the best use out of that particular strategy. So moving on to level 5, we're now going to be a Bard 4, and this is going to give us a couple different things. First off, we're going to get another cantrip, pick whichever one you want, doesn't matter too much, and then you're going to get another level 2 spell. And again, this is going to be dependent on what you picked earlier and if you want to take a concentration spell or not, or not. So if you took Shatter, then you can go ahead and take like Hold Person or vice versa. The Bard spells for this build in particular, I would say you're mainly going to have like utility based options, because our damage is mainly going to be coming from our weapons, like especially once you get to like good hand crossbows, for example. Then since we are going to have a higher dex, because we are going to take an ASI right here and bump our dex up to 19 and then 20 with Hag's Hair, you will do more damage with that and your flourishes than you will like casting spells like in general, right? So focus on like utility based ones and ones that are going to help you out even outside of combat. So that's the one that I would recommend. And then of course we're going to take an ASI here and we're going to bump our dex up to 19, and then again this will be 20 with the Hag's Hair. Moving on to level 6, we are now going to be a Bard level 5, and the two main things that we're going to get here is going to be Font of Inspiration, which means that we're going to get all of our Bardic Inspiration after a short or long rest. The short rest thing is especially useful for this build because of the fact that now we can use our Blade Flourishes as much as we want, and then we can just short rest and get them all back before we had to wait until a long rest. So it was a little bit rough, but that alleviates that issue. So that is really nice. And then moving into the spells section, you are going to get access to level 3 spells. There's not too many options for Bard specifically, like they don't have like a huge selection, but they do have some good options. So the three main ones that I say are the best are going to be Glint of Warding, Hypnotic Pattern, and Plant Growth. Now, this is going to depend on your playstyle, which one you want to pick. If you want an AoE ranged option that has like some good amount of utility as well, such as like putting everyone to sleep, then you can go Glint of Warding. And as a commenter pointed out in one of my previous videos, if you are one of the races that can't be put to sleep, you can actually walk into a group of enemies, put the Glint of Warding Sleep down on the ground, and put everyone to sleep, and you will not be affected. So that is a really nice strategy, and I'll put their comment up on the screen, because thank you so much for pointing that out, as that is it's just awesome. That's really cool, just to walk in and just be like a night, you know what I mean? Like a night, and then yeah, you know what I mean. It's awesome. So I really do recommend Glint of Warding, and because like it just has so much utility, but it also has damage. Like these other ones have utility, but they don't have damage. They have better utility, but they don't have damage. Glint of Warding has that damage and that utility. So I really like that one. That's going to be my main option here. But if you want to take like Hypnotic, and also it's not concentration, so that's another thing. If you want to take Hypnotic Pattern, that one's a really good one as well. If you saw my last video, then you can see that Hypnotic Pattern is still really good. And then Plant Growth is also pretty good as well, especially if you have some boots that, or someone to cast Freedom of Movement on you. So those are your three main options for level 3 spells. And once again, you could replace the spell if you can't pick and you want to pick like 2 of them. But main option, Glint of Warding, absolutely. I still think it's the best one for us specifically. Moving on to Bard level 6. This is another huge level for us because we get extra attack here. So obviously extra attack is going to increase our power by quite a bit. And then you're going to get access to another level 3 spell. So you can take like Hypnotic Pattern or Plant Growth, whichever one you didn't take before. And you can move right on with level 8. You are now going to have access to your level 4 spells, and there is a couple different level 4 spells here. So you have access to Greater Invisibility, Polymorph, Freedom of Movement, Dimension Door, and then Confusion. And Freedom of Movement is a nice utility option to have because it lasts until long rest, so you can just cast it on yourself and then you don't have to worry about it until you long rest again. So that one is nice. But if you have another party member that's going to be able to cast this, then you want to free up that slot for something else, then you don't really need to take it here. But if you want to combine that with Plant Growth, then that's like a good strategy that you can use as well. Dimension Door is nice since we don't naturally have access to Misty Step, so that it does give you a way to teleport. But the thing is, it's an action, not a bonus action like Misty Step is, so that kind of sucks. But there's also plenty of ways to get Misty Step from like certain equipment in the game. So the one I recommend is Greater Invisibility as the spell that you can concentrate on at this level. And this is going to be really nice because of the fact that we have a high dex and we can have a high stealth score in this, especially if you have someone who can cast Pass Without Trace on your party. Then this is really nice because assuming you're not super unlucky, you can go and you can do a lot of damage without starting a combat encounter by just attacking from stealth and attacking while invisible, since Greater Invisibility does not break if you attack. It only breaks if you fail a stealth check. So that one's really nice. And if you saw like the last video, there was a clip of me like going in and I killed like half the enemies, I think, and before my combat for this character even started because I succeeded a couple stealth checks in a row. So really, really nice to have. And I really do like the utility of Greater Invisibility. Now, moving on to level 9, we are going to be a Bard level 8. And we're going to be able to gain another spell here. It's going to be a level 4 spell slot. So If you want to take just like another one, that it doesn't have to be like a level 4 spell specifically. You can take whatever you want at this point. This is going to be up to you because for bards, like a lot of their spells are utility, and once you get like your core spells, that's kind of just like picking and choosing whichever like one that you feel like you're going to need for like a certain situation. So you can take whichever one you want. It doesn't matter too much at this point because we have like up to this level, we have our main spells already. And then for your second feat, and this you're only going to get 2 feats with this build, you have a couple different options here. So you have 3 main options, right? And this is going to be dependent on what you see yourself doing. If you are going to be focusing mainly on melee combat, take Savage Attacker. This is going to be a pretty big increase to your damage because whenever you make a melee attack, you roll a damage die twice and use the highest result. So it's just a natural increase to your overall damage output. If you're not sure what to take, you can take Warcaster. This is going to be good because it's going to give you advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on a spell. So if you have like key spells that you want to concentrate on, then Warcaster is really good, especially because we are going to get access to magical secrets. So maybe you want to take like Spirit Guardians, and that's a really good one to concentrate on, but you are also going to be in melee range, so you're going to be receiving a lot of attacks, but you also have a high AC, so it might not be like that necessary, right, to have like Warcaster, but it's an option. Or you could take another ability score improvement and then bump your dex up to, your charisma up to 18. So the choice is up to you. You can choose between those 3. Personally, for me, because with a Bladesinger, I mainly like to focus on melee combat, I'm going to take Savage Attacker. But again, there are other good options as well, and it would not be bad for you to take those options either. So moving on to level 10, you are now going to be a bard level 9, and this is going to give you access to level 5 spells. We have a few different options here for our level 5 spells, and the main one that I am going to recommend, is going to be Hold Monster. And because we took Hold Person earlier, and there's not many other options here for us that I feel like are as good. There's some good utility options, but when you're thinking about like a main damage dealer, not a lot of these are like too great. But Hold Monster is really nice because of the fact that since we already have Hold Person, now we can affect the things that we can't affect with Hold Person. So you can just like Hold Monster like a boss that's not a humanoid, and then get like all of your blade flourishes. And then if you want to use like if you're a tiefling, Zariel tiefling, and you can use like your smites and stuff, get those guaranteed crits and do a lot of damage and really focus fire down on that. And I just think it's the best option out of the ones that we have here, but Planner Binding and Dominate Person are other good options as well. Now, moving on to level 11, we're going to be a level 10 Bard, and this is where we're going to get access to a lot of features. Level 10 is actually huge, like one of the probably like the biggest like level that bards get access to is once they hit level 10. So of course you get to pick 2 skills here that you want to be proficient in. So really I'm going to recommend Perception 100% of the time because perception, like having a high passive perception, is just really useful for exploration. And then the second one here, it can really be just whatever one you want. And this is also going to be a little bit different depending on the background and race that you took. So just do whichever one you want, but because you are a bard, you're going to be like naturally good in a lot of skills anyway. So it's not like the biggest deal. Cantrip here, insignificant, take whatever you want. And then you're going to get access to another level 5 spell slot here. And again, you don't have to take a level 5 spell. You can take something else if you wish. It doesn't have to be level 5. So take Freedom Movement if you don't have it already. And then we get access to my favorite class ability in the game, Magical Secrets. I love Magical Secrets. So there's a lot of good options here for you. Now, there's a couple different options depending on the way that you want to play it because of the fact that there's just so many different options. From a pure power standpoint, if you want to make this build as strong as possible, if you don't have a party member that can cast haste on you, take haste. Haste is going to be the best spell for you. It's going to be the biggest increase to your power as a melee character, like turn for turn, just because of everything that it gives you. But if you have another party member that's going to cast haste on you consistently, then I would take Spirit Guardians as your concentration spell instead. And this is also just a very powerful spell that's going to be really good and do like a lot of AoE damage around you as you're in melee combat and as you're just destroying all the enemies. So both of these are really good. It really is going to be dependent on since they're both concentration, you can't concentrate on both of them at the same time, but you can have another party member cast haste on you. So if you have a party member that's going to cast haste, take Spirit Guardians. If not, take haste yourself. And then for the last option, once again, you do have a lot of really good options. But I will say something to note is for our last level, we are going to go Wizard. And the reason why we're going Wizard is because of the fact that we're going to be able to learn from spells from scrolls when we have that last level in Wizard. And since we are a full caster, we are going to have full casting level slots. So we'll be able to learn any spell from a scroll as long as that spell's available in scroll form. So some of these spells, for example, on this list, you can get from scrolls, so you don't need to pick them up here. And so when you combine all of that information, my number one pick for this is going to be Banishing Smite. And I know it just says ranged here, but it does have a melee variant as well. And I know it's in concentration, but hear me out. This is the coolest spell. This is the only way to get Banishing Smite in the game, is through a Bard's Magical Secrets at level 10. And the thing is, you don't have to concentrate on this. Like, you do not have to keep concentration on this. Now, it will break your concentration if you're using something else. So, for example, if you're casting haste on yourself or spirit guards on yourself, then you can't use Banishing Spike because you're going to break your concentration on one of those. But at the same time, it's just so cool. Like, this spell is just awesome. But again, from a pure power perspective, it might not be the best. I just really like this spell, and I think that since like this is the only way to get it, it's a really fun spell to pick at this level. But again, not completely necessary. A couple different options are going to be good. It's going to be Fire Shield and then Counterspell. These are also really good options. And I don't know off the top of my head if you can get either of these from a spell scroll. So just double check on like the wiki, for example. And that's what I would recommend you do is double check the wiki, see which one of these you can get from a spell scroll, and then just pick accordingly. Armor of Agathis is also really, really good for this build because you're going to have a high AC, but when you do finally get hit, you're not actually going to take any of that damage yourself, and then you're going to explode the enemy back with a bunch of retaliation damage, similar to Fire Shield, but this can actually, when you upcast it enough, be really strong. And then Spiritual Weapon is also really good because that's just extra damage that you get to output as well, so I like that one too. It's not the most flashy of spells, but thematically, I've always loved Spiritual Weapon, and I think it's really cool, and it's just a really good way to like ink out extra damage because of the fact that you can upcast it, and it has like some utility depending on the weapon that you pick as well. So you have a lot of good options here. I like that one, but again, this is going to be up to you and what you feel like you need. And then, of course, like I said before, depending on the rest of your party composition and what they're going to be casting as well. So you can figure out what you want this particular character to cast, right? So that is going to be that level. I know it's a little bit long-winded, but Magical Secrets, when you have that many options, there's a lot to talk about there. So your final level, like I said before, you're going to go Wizard, and then a couple things here. You can wear the headband of intellect. So that way, like these few wizard spells that you get, specifically from taking this level, not from scrolls, because the scrolls will use your charisma modifier, but it just uses whatever your highest casting modifier is. If I believe that's how it works. There's been like weird information about it because it's like weird how it actually interacts, but I believe that that's how it works. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So if you're not going to wear the headband of intellect, then don't take any spells that are going to use like your int, basically, or cantrips. You already have a lot of these, so like it doesn't really matter too much. You can pick whatever because you're probably not going to use them. You know what I mean? Like, especially at level 12, like you're not really going to be using those cantrips. And then you get to pick some prepared spells. You can take whatever you want here, but the one I absolutely do recommend, no matter what you take, is Shield. And Shield is just huge, and this is also going to help. And this is like, Shield is the main argument for why you might not want to wait till level 12 to take one level of Wizard, is because Shield is so good and it fits that Bladesinger theme so well, right? So if you wanted to take Shield, if you wanted to take your one level of Wizard at like an earlier level and delay some of your other stuff, you could, just because you can get access to Shield. But you don't have to do that. It's just that like Shield is that good of a spell, and combining it with our defensive flourish, like that's already a +9 to our armor class, not counting anything else, and that's an absolutely insane boost. So absolutely take Shield here. And again, if you want to just pick up that level of Wizard at any other point in the build, like as you're leveling up, then you could do that as well, because again, these are just like one level dips, so you can take them wherever you want. Besides the cleric level, I do like taking the cleric level for all the armor and weapon proficiencies, just getting that out of the way already, and then having access to, of course, making extra attack is nice early on in the game. So that's going to be the main one right there. And then the other spells, it doesn't matter too much. You can take literally whatever you want. It's not like the biggest deal in the world, because again, a lot of like at this level, like you have so many core spells already that you're using, and then on top of that, like if your int is at 8 and you're not wearing the headband of intellect, you can only prepare one of these anyway, and you would just be preparing shield. So that is going to be the level guide for this build. Without further ado, let's move on to the equipment section. All right, so moving on to the equipment section, there are a lot of really good equipment for this build, and it really does depend on the direction that you end up taking it. Because you are a Bladesinger, the main thing you're going to focus on is, of course, getting as much AC as possible. So we're going to be using a shield, so I have a couple good shield recommendations on screen for you, as well as heavy armor. I know that heavy armor doesn't fit the Bladesinging theme specifically because you don't wear heavy armor as a Bladesinger in regular D&D 5e, but because we don't have the actual class and we don't have Blade Song as an ability in the game, we still want to have as much AC as possible to fit that theme, which is why we're wielding heavy armor with this build. And then in terms of your weapon, there's a couple different really good weapons in different stages of the game. There's a couple long swords that are finesse, so you can use those at the beginning of the game, and then later on you have things like the harmonic dueler and a couple other really awesome like rapiers and stuff that you can use as well. So you have a lot of options with this build, and you can really pick and choose. You can even go for like the legendary quarterstaff if you really want to, if you want to lean more into the spell casting aspect. But again, with this build, you mainly are focusing on melee combat, getting like your 3 attacks per turn with your blade flourishes and just doing as much damage as possible. And then, of course, the spells are mainly there just to supplement that in true Bladesinging nature. And with access to things like shield and stuff, you should be A-okay and almost impossible to hit. These are just a couple of the really awesome recommendations I do recommend for this build. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, make sure to hit the like button as well as subscribe so that way you can stay up to date with all my build videos and have a lot of cool builds to try in Baldur's Gate 3. Leave a comment down below any type of build that you'd like to see me do next. And as always, I really do appreciate every single one of you. And if you do want to support me and get written like a write-up for each build, because I do like physical PDF write-ups, not physical, digital PDF write-ups for each build to go along with the videos that you can follow through, so that way you don't have to like flip through the video. Then you can join the Patreon or the YouTube members. There'll be links down in the description below, and there's also a couple other cool features that you get with that and some benefits. So if you want to support me as well as get some access to some cool benefits, then make sure to check those out. But that's all the time I have for you today, so I will see you in the next one. And don't forget to check out Raid Shadow Legends. Use my QR code or the link in the description so that way you can claim all of those amazing rewards.